So I have a question from you all. If you distill or narrow down communication and public speaking and presentation into 3 main points, what would they be? If you are listening carefully in the morning, you should have got the answer to this question. If not, just a bit of creative imagination and you should still come up with the answer. Alright, so this triangle is to represent communication. So what do you think the 3 elements would be? Who prepares? Who is it that prepares? It's me, right? Who presents? Again, me. So the first part of communication is me, the speaker. So then what would the second element be? Absolutely. And what does that leave us with?
Topic.
Yes? The speech, the topic, which makes it the message. So this theory has many names, many philosophers, many great people have spoken about this theory, but it is most commonly known as Aristotle's rhetorical triangle. So basically, you all know who Aristotle is. He says that in communication, you need to have these 3 elements: the message, the speaker, and the audience. So irrespective of whom you're talking to, where you're talking to, what the topic is, if you consider all of these 3 elements, you should be okay. Has anyone in this audience fallen asleep during a presentation, a class, school, university? Yeah, all of us? Alright, why do we fall asleep during lectures?
Tired.
Absolutely boring. I completely agree with you all. Has anyone fallen asleep when you are talking? Alright, so we fall asleep because presentations are boring. People fall asleep in our presentations. Is it because we are boring? Can be, yes, can be. Well, actually, the thing is, in life, what works for you may not necessarily work for me. What is interesting for you is not interesting for me. Because we all have different likes, different dislikes, and that's what makes us human. People who are visual need to see something. Alright? So PowerPoints, presentations, different things, they need to see to understand. That works well for most of us Sri Lankans because remember school textbooks? Our education system was full of textbooks. Every subject had a big textbook. So this textbook is one of the reasons why we are visual learners, and it is also one of the reasons why textbooks appeal to Sri Lankans. So it's a two-way relationship. The next one are the auditory learners. So what does that mean? What do the auditory learners need? So the auditory learner will find it really difficult to learn anything through a PowerPoint presentation alone, or through just watching a PowerPoint presentation or reading a booklet. It's going to be useless, it's not going to be useful, and they will just fall asleep. The final type of learner, tactile and kinesthetic. So what does that leave us with? What do they need to do? These people need to see, they need to hear. So what do they need to do? They need to do something. They need to move. They need to try it out for themselves. They are not happy about just listening about something. So one of my part-time things that I like to do is I also write for the education sections of newspapers. So because of this other part-time job I have the privilege of going to a lot of schools, universities, and talking to teachers and principals. So I heard that there are a lot of international schools and especially universities in Sri Lanka where they teach subjects like engineering, and science without a lab. What do you think of that? So for those of you all who did science for your A-levels or engineering as a degree, I'm sure you spent a lot of time in the lab. You would try things out, you would experiment. But there are now schools and universities that don't believe in that because why? They think if you have a computer, it's good enough. It all functions on simulations. So what that would do is it would not cater to these learners. Alright? So now think again about yourself and those lectures that you fell asleep in. So what this means is if you, or if I, now in Sri Lanka, we are about 40%, 45% visual, 45% of the country is auditory, and the rest, the very few, are tactile or kinesthetic learners. So if you are someone who needs to listen only, and you just have to read a textbook, you are going to fall asleep. Similarly, if you are someone who wants to move around, who wants to walk, who wants to be active, just listening to a lecture, morning, noon, and night, and the lecture going on and on and on is going to do what? Again, it's going to put you to sleep. Alright? So, just to recap, ladies and gentlemen, in the morning you all heard a lot about the message, you heard a lot about yourself, you heard about the need for voice variation, body language, all these things. So now the third element that I want to talk to you all about is the audience. It's no point how wonderful you are as a speaker. You can be the most eloquent person. You can have the dynamic personality. You could have prepared and prepared and prepared and prepared before you present. But if your audience doesn't like it, case closed.